Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew and today we're doing what might possibly be the most stupidest Godzilla figure I have ever reviewed on the channel. Now I mean stupid in all comicality or comedically, whatever the proper term is, because this is one of those figures that are like, it's so bad, it's so good, but in the near 10 years I have been getting Godzilla figures and collecting them, this has to be the strangest one I've ever seen. And I know there's such thing like the Doom Island one from Trendmasters, you know, the one that like has the guts coming out, and there's like a big battering ram. I think that was on Destroyer, or it was either Godzilla. I think both of them had it, and then they had like these big like things on the back. This is funny, modern day Godzilla. This is the funniest one you can get on the market. So let's see if funny really means good. So we're going to be using this, usually based in two parts, about each of the figures, because there is technically two going on. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. I haven't even said the name of this figure yet. It's the Titan Evolution Godzilla from Godzilla Kong the New Empire. Yes, the X is silent. The overall mold is definitely the standard Playmates mold, you know, with the standard blue spray and the charcoal black color scheme, the basic blue eyes that surprisingly have no pupils, and the one noted pink tongue. And really, that's all the coloring. I mean, that's kind of it. But it is bigger, it's bulkier, it's a big rubber sack that goes over an actual figure. We'll talk about that in just a sec, but for the mold of the rubber suit, it's not bad. Like, honestly, they could have done a lot worse of a job with this. I will say the spines look more 2014 than KOTM in versus Kong, but then again, how are you going to really do the gimmick with the exact fins that look like that? Also, the arms are beefened up to really give Kong a run for his money. Like, you want to talk about evolution? This is what evolution looks like. Also, we've got like a little pouch in the rib area, kind of abdomen. Then the legs. The legs are probably the most normal looking thing about this figure. I mean, they're big, they're bulky, they have the correct shape. Maybe a bit too bulky. They kind of look like pants you'd see in like the 80s or 90s, potentially. And the tail looks really well done. You can kind of see all like the intricate little details again you'd find on the other figures, and surprisingly, it even like folds the shape same way too. Which, bringing over the Heat Ray Godzilla, which is knocking over my battle axe Kong, it's essentially kind of like the same thing, where it's in the exact same position, and it features the color of the Radio Tower Godzilla. Although I think they just took their new Heat Ray Godzilla that has non-translucent spines and a new Heat Ray mold, and just put it on this one as far as color scheme is concerned, because this matches the Radio Tower Godzilla, which is just sprayed on blue and not actually translucent blue. Which I really gotta say, I wish it was translucent so you could see the figure underneath. Then again, that kind of ruined the whole point of like actually peeling off the skin now, wouldn't it? But yeah, it's obviously made of a big rubber. Also tracks a lot of dust and lint. Let's see, as you can see by the dog fur that I have on this, because I do have dogs. And let's get the Heat Ray Godzilla out of here. This is not your review. You had your review years ago. Who knows? Maybe I might re-review it again. But as it stands, it's not bad. Like, especially the detail. I hate to say this, but the detail might actually be better on this than Shimu. Yeah, I said it. The detailing here is wonderful. And honestly, even though it's not the most eye-catching, it's certainly there. Like, you can definitely tell that the detail is, well, there. And even though the arms detail, they do get somewhat lost thanks to the girth of them, having them stretched out and everything, both literally and figuratively, it's still there, and it looks actually kind of good. That's what I don't like, is that this thing looks good. It's so goofy. Again, legs are beefed up. Nothing at the bottom of the feet. Surprisingly, no copyright information molded. Tail, again, it's kind of floppy, but we'll get into that in a sec. And, yeah, that's, the tail, again, really has nothing else to go over. I will say, again, they kind of simplified the spines here. kind of made it more like generic, kind of like triangular spines, and less like these type of spines, which actually have some jaggedness to them. But overall, it's a nice little. It's a nice. How do I properly say this? Representation of the movie. Although, let's be honest, if you're looking for movie accuracy, even then, I don't think this is the way to go, but even this looks better than this. But that's not what we're here for, is it? Well, let's talk about posability, because I'm not taking the figure out and then putting it back in just to talk about posability once more. The figure has obviously the main figure underneath, but has nothing at the head, and even though the interior mouth can close, this one cannot. And no matter how hard you try to dig that thing in there, it's not going to close with it, so it's perma open. The arms actually do rotate, and they do go in and out. However, do be careful that if you rotate the arms like a little bit too much, it'll definitely look really weird. Um, Especially if you go like that, you'll start to see like the flaps starting to expose the figure underneath. That's probably not what you want, but at the same time, it probably is what you want. Legs can actually kick up. The legs are probably the most expressive part about it. They can kick up about that far, go backwards about that far, and can actually rotate side to side, which I think is an incredible little detail. And same thing with the other leg. Let's go. It has the same amount of posability, forwards about that far, backwards about that far, and can twist at the foot. And the tail is actually disconnected inside of the body because it's not long enough, which is weird to say. But it does not have any posability, although it is very much rubber. So if you want to like hold a position, just kind of like dig it to one side and then you can kind of get it, but it's not a bendy wire or anything. It's just purely flexible rubber. But yeah, that's as far as posability is concerned. Now, let's talk about accessories or gimmicks, because we all know what comes next. I mentioned it, and here's how to do it. There's already a video explaining it, and if you really need it, just scan the QR code that's on the packaging of this figure. But you essentially open up this trap door, you'll already see it. Raise up Godzilla's arm like this, as if you're trying to tell, like, say, your younger sibling. So, I don't know, raise up his arms. Yeah. So there you go, raising Godzilla up like that. You can already start to see the face. And you can unpeel that, and unpeel that. So now we have the figure underneath, which is Godzilla Evolved. So we take off this entire peelage of skin. You can be as light or as heavy as you want, because it is durable. However, I don't know how much of durability it can take, because it's already starting to shed. However, that just could be because of the way it was molded. Okay, come on. The feet are a little hard, but once you get it out, they're perfectly fine to manage. So there you go, there's Godzilla. And the tail literally just comes out almost like a sock and a foot. There you go. Let's put the rubbery flap Godzilla out of the way. And you're going to notice the string. Just simply put it in like this. And close that thing back up. And there you go. That's Godzilla Evolved from the Titan Evolution set. And what's funny is that even though there's nothing inside the figure, you can still somewhat stand him up. Even though he's just going to be jiggling around for like several minutes. But this is to wrap up the Titan Evolution Godzilla in particular. I think that the rubber suit, it's so stupid, and I think that yes, I'm using Kevin's voice, which sounds like Kermit the Frog. Yeah, this is one goofy figure. Okay, I'm letting my I'm letting my inner child get to me. Ooh, my autism's gonna have a field day with this thing, isn't it? Oh boy, on to the actual figure. And we have the actual figure, which At first glance, you might think it's the Godzilla evolved with Heat Ray, but trust me, this is not the same figure. It looks like it at first glance, but we'll go over it at the end of this video. So let's go ahead and talk about the sculpt and paint, which it shares an identical mold to that of the Heat Ray Godzilla, but it's not the same. The eye paint is roughly identical with the whole mismatching placement of the orange eye. This one seems a little too far out, and this one seems a little too far down. But I mean, still, when you look at it from head on, this thing looks weirder than the other one, which doesn't even have pupils. But the mouth paint is actually really well done. I like the teeth paint on this. It's honestly, again, one of Playmates' better applications because it's a slightly bigger mouth to actually paint it in. The pink tongue is also really well done as well, and it features that standard kind of like olive green spray that goes all the way down to from the neck all the way to the tail. However, the overall body is casted in a very nice kind of like greenish blue plastic, and it honestly really makes this Godzilla one of the more colorful ones used, at least that Playmates has ever made. Not counting that of like the Hong Kong Battle Kong and Godzilla figures. Because let's be real here, in terms of color, those ones are like on top. However, what this one does really well is the transition between the spines up here and the translucent spines, which they are translucent and they are of the same variety. And it also features kind of like a very acrylic. Definitely not. This is definitely not acrylic. I don't know what the proper term is, but it's very painted on. You can obviously tell it's paint, but it features a single row of spines. Yeah, it only has one row. There are like mild places where the spines would have been, but they're softened out for obvious reasons. And the fins here are not as pronounced, although they are there. But it's very much much more red than the orange we got with the original Heat Ray Godzilla, but it still looks really good. And what's funny to note is that, taking a look at the arms here, they're in a pre-fixed position, obviously, but they don't feature the elbow spikes, which again, I know it's to fit inside the figure, but I feel like they could have like maybe had, so it's almost like the Titan Tech Godzilla, where they had like an elbow spike, but you can kind of like open it up. That would be cool. But alas, that's what it is. Obviously, we have the tucked in belly, the skinny up legs, and what's funny to know is that the legs are actually in kind of like a weird position because it almost looks like he's about to sit down rather than walk forward or something. I don't know. Playmates can never make up their minds when it comes to the posture of these Godzillas, but it still looks good nonetheless. Also features the signature olive green that you find on the all the way on the base of the tail to the neck, painted onto the claws here and there. And it honestly looks really well done. Oh, also on the arms. How did I not notice that? Even on the legs too. Okay, that I definitely noticed. Come on. It's impossible for me to miss something like that. But what's also funny to mention is, well, let's go ahead and bring in the Heat Ray Godzilla just for like a fair comparison as to like what I'm talking about. I'll be doing a much more in-depth video talking about this, but here's the Heat Ray Godzilla, and at first glance, yeah, they look exactly the same. Obviously, one's slightly taller than the other. However, that's just due to the leg posture. However, the main differences come in the form of the spines up here, which you can definitely see this one's a much more orange rather than this one being just jet red. You can definitely see a quality in the plastic. I love the quality on this one a lot more than this one, but at least this one has the elbow spikes, depending on they're not painted. Also, this one has like more of an action-y pose kind of going on. So he kind of like has his arm kind of put in, while this one has like a much more basic stance. And you can definitely see, like, again, the legs, they're definitely a lot more walking pose rather than this one almost looking like he's about to sit down. And again, another difference is with the tails is that, again, the fins on the Titan evolution are a lot smaller in comparison to the ones that are much more movie accurate because this one has to fit inside the big rubber Godzilla suit. And also, this one, in terms of the paint, there's no contest. This one wins by a long shot. Even though this one could win if you're wanting a glowing effect, which I think that's what people would want. But I think based on like just sheer looks and sheer consistency of the plastic, especially like the detailing, got some like extra bit of detail when you actually open up the thing. I feel like this one might win a little bit more than the standard one. But as for articulation, also just to throw this in here, the accessory will not fit inside of this guy's mouth. There's no hole. Just to show you. And even if there was a hole, this one's mouth doesn't open as wide as this one does. Actually, wait, they look... Oh no, this one's open slightly more. But yeah, for articulation, it's kind of the same, but there are some differences. The jaw will open up about that far, close up like that. Still no head rotation. Give us a head rotation on Godzilla Evolved, man. These ones actually don't just rotate, but they actually go in and out. This is something that should have been on this one. Considering the fact that they're the same size, I don't see why they couldn't have just done it on this one as well. But they can go out about that far. Although something about this just doesn't look right to me, with Godzilla just spreading his arms out like this. Down about that far, can rotate pretty much all the way around. Legs can kick up about that far. Back about that far, and can rotate pretty much all the way around. On both sides, mind you, and has a ball-jointed tail, which can rotate all the way around, do all that fancy jazz. So, when you really boil it down, there's no doubt that this Godzilla is in some ways an upgrade to this one, but also a downgrade as well. And for the quick round of size comparisons, here they are next to some other Godzilla figures that you may have in your collection, with the NECA Godzilla 2014 and the Playmates Godzilla 2004 from the Toho series line. And I gotta say, again, he's still my favorite, but you know, really now seeing the size difference, of course, like, he's going to be smaller than him, because there's no way something that would be bigger than this would fit inside that. So, yeah. And so, what do I overall think of this figure? Well, two figures, technically. I think that this, well, set, I'm going to call it a set, is goofy beyond belief. Like, the goofy part isn't even the figure itself. They could have easily just took this figure as is and sold it on shelves, and then I think no one would bat two eyes. But no, they had to go the extra mile and give it a rubber skin that might be one of the funniest Godzilla things I've ever seen. Because it's like, look at this thing. It made good hip thrust, Godzilla. Good job. See if you can do the victory dance. Just look at this. Look, like, you could put something inside this that's not this figure, and it'll probably work, assuming it is actually in the shape of Godzilla. But with that being said, I would definitely recommend this for kids if they like goofy little toys. If you are an adult collector, maybe steer away from this, unless you like so bad it's good toys. Because this is definitely not figure of the year material. This is definitely like on the lower end as far as figures and toys go. But it's goofy in its own right, and I think it's so bad it's good figure. But that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys like to, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus, accept him as Lord and Savior today. Spread the gospel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone. God bless.